Yo, my people, what's up? It's your boy Hillman here. Welcome back to my channel. For returning subscribers, love you all. Thanks for always tuning in. And for new subscribers, welcome, welcome, welcome. Take a look around if you like the stuff I make, if you like the content I produce, subscribe. Otherwise, it's a free world. And this video is particularly for those of you who are traveling goals for 2024. Because in this vlogmas, part of what I want to do is to be able to share tips with you guys which could potentially help you work on your own New Year goals. And I know a lot of people, especially those who follow me on Instagram, know I travel a lot. And a lot of them ask me, how do you do that? How do you travel that much? How do you combine traveling with med school, all that jazz? And in this video, basically, I've made a lot of videos talking about my top tips for how to travel. So like booking out of time, setting notifications, setting alerts on Google search and stuff like that. Check out this video here to see more about that, or the video is going to be here. I don't know. The video is attached somewhere. But in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I've managed to book my first 6+ trips for next year already. We're in December now, and I already booked basically half of them in November and October actually. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing you guys my thought pattern because I think it's just nice to sometimes make it practical so you guys can actually see how my thoughts work with regards to like planning trips and how I plan them. Because sometimes, like I was just recently talking with a friend who was trying to get a discount for me because I asked for a discount on my Instagram page and stuff. And I was trying to book a trip for May next year. And he looked at me like, bruh, how do you know where you want to go to in May? Because like, he wants to travel, but he just doesn't know how to plan. So I guess in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys my thoughts, my insights, like how I go about the whole planning thing and how I've managed to plan 6+ trips for next year already for the first half of the year. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first thing you need to know, and that's something I've been talking about a lot in my videos, is the fact that it's very important to have a goal. So like with everything else in life, with relationships, with school, with work, with life, all areas of your life need goals. And I'm a big fan of setting goals. And one thing I always try to do is to set goals. And I do that as well for traveling because traveling is an important thing for me. And I think if you want to see the world, if you want to discover new cultures, discover different things, like all the beautiful things that nature has to offer out there, you have to be intentional about planning these things. You have to be intentional about your traveling plans. So I'm a big fan of setting goals. I'm a big fan of planning. I'm a big fan of being intentional with that. So I set my yearly travel goals. For this year, the goal was to travel to all Scandinavian countries or all Nordic countries, Iceland, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and I did Estonia as well. And that worked because I had the plan, even though at some point I was thinking it wasn't going to be possible. Because I had that goal, I managed to see it through. So for next year, my goal is to go to at least half of the world wonders. Of course, those are like spread out throughout the world. And it's going to be a big one. It's going to be a challenging one. But because I had that goal in mind, it was easier to already narrow my searches. So the plan was initially to go to India. My brother lives in India now, moved there to study. So I was like, okay, I'll go visit him and then I can see the Taj Mahal. 2 birds, 1 stone. Works for me. I was like, hey, India is there. So I went looking for flights, right? Because I'll finish med school and I'll have a while before I can start working. So I was like, let me use that time. If I stay here, I'm not going to do that much. So let me use that time and actually go see my brother. So then I went looking for flights and I saw that a lot of the flights transit through Dubai or like the Middle East. So I was like, wait, hold up a second. My goal is to travel to the world wonders or to see the world wonders. And where is one of the world wonders? In Jordan. And Jordan is more or less on the way to India. So I went looking for flights. What if I transit in Jordan, spend a few days there, and then go forward to India? So that's how the thought just popped up in my mind. I was like, okay, let's see what I can do with this thought. Went looking for flights, and I actually found out that the flights were cheaper or maybe just slightly more expensive if I stopped in Jordan, which means it would save me money if I just do this 2 places in one go than if I go to India, come back, then go to Jordan, come back, if that makes sense. So that means I would, instead of paying 1,000 euros to go to India and come back while transiting in the Middle East, so you will still have to transit. I could transit in Jordan, go to India, then come back and pay 1,100 or 1,200. So that means you're paying just 100 or 200. Of course, you still have the logistics of when you're in Jordan and accommodation and stuff like that. But in terms of flight, you are paying 100, 200 extra for that added destination, which for me is a big one because I get to see another world wonder. There are just 7 of them. So if you get to see 2 in one trip, jackpot. So that became my new plan to go to India. And I was like, okay, that was exciting. I was looking for the flight, trying to book things. But then at one point I realized my brother has exams in that month and that's the only month I could come in the first half of the year. So of course, India fell through for now. So it was pushed to September. So I'm still going to those 2 locations, but then in September. So I haven't booked those yet. And then of course I had now February of March. I had March free. So I was like, what do I do in March? What other world wonder did I have in mind? The closest, which is the one in Europe, which everyone goes to first, is Rome. The Colosseum. So of course, I was like, if I have the money, then I don't have to go to India. I still have time. So let me go see how cheap the tickets to Rome are. I go looking and behold, you would have it. The tickets to Rome were 40 or 50 euros. I'll put it on somewhere here. You see how much I bought it for. but the tickets to Rome were really cheap, like 40, 50 euros. And I was like, okay, you know, that's an amount of money which you can book now. And if you don't go, it's not that bad. You're not losing that much. That's how cheap the flight was. And that's how my brain sometimes computes this. Of course, towards that time, you have to think about accommodation. I know a lot of people in Rome, but not people I want to stay with. So then I still have to figure out accommodation. And I know accommodation in Rome is pretty expensive, but I think it's not going to be that dramatic. Worst case scenario, I stay outside the city. So that's how I booked the first trip. So Rome was booked in February, and I was like, okay, that's great. That's one world wonder. I'm going to check it off. I have to book Colosseum before that time because it's mostly booked way ahead of time. But I booked the first trip. So that was the first trip checked. And then I was talking with a friend of mine afterward who is getting married in May in America. And I was like, normally he told me about the wedding. He sent me the RSVP, but I was going to be working full time. So I was not going to be able to make it to the wedding. But for some reason, around that period where I had decided to make a shift, a change in my career path, he reached out to me again and we started talking, and then I got to remember the wedding which he invited me for, which I couldn't initially go for, but because of the changes that have happened now, I can go. So I was like, okay, it's going to be expensive to fly to America and back. Let me go look for the flight to see if I can make it work. I checked the flights, and the flights are 400 euros to America and back. 400 euros to America and back. And that's like West Coast of America, so like California. I was like, okay, this is interesting. 400 euros, I can make it. So I call him up. Yo, what's happening? What's the wedding plan? Is it still going through? I might want to come because it's a special thing for him. I think it will be special for me to also experience that. So then the plan for the wedding gets rolling and stuff like that. And then I have a lot of friends in America, so I always try to combine trips. One of my tips for my videos is to try to combine trips as much as you can. So I try to see, is anyone in California? I know a bunch of people in California. I've always wanted to go to San Francisco, so to the Yosemite Park, National Park around San Francisco. So seeing how to combine this thing. So of course I start calling people, start making calls, and then eventually America becomes like a 3-stop trip. So I stop first in another state, and then I go to another state, and then in that same state, I go to 2 cities. So that's like 3 trips in one, which because of just this one wedding, I combine the wedding with other things. So like I'm having layovers, and then the layovers eventually turn out to be cheaper if I do the layovers than if I just book a whole new trip to that destination. These are people I've not seen in like 10, 20 years. So of course, these are all really special trips for me, and I want to be able to make the time to like spend with them. So of course, that's like 3 trips added to Rome. So that's 4. So 4 trips already booked just by having conversations, having my goal in mind, and knowing exactly what I want for the year in terms of traveling. After that, I was in church. Last week Sunday, I was in church, and some friends came visiting from Switzerland. They moved to Switzerland now, and I really want to visit them. I want to spend more time with them. I want to hear how their life is going. I want to hear what they're being up to. And the guy told me he works part-time now, and the girl is working and she's busy and stuff. I was like, you work part-time? I can come over and we have time to chat, and you can show me around and stuff like that. And then the thought popped into my mind, wait, but you still have some days off in March because you didn't go to India. So that I would have gone to India for a whole month, but I didn't go to India, and I'm spending just a few days in Rome. So then I was like, wait, I still have other days in March. So how about I plan a trip to Switzerland to go see them, if the tickets are cheap, of course. So I went looking, and lo and behold, the tickets were under 100 euros. I was like, okay, that's worth it. To Switzerland, that is worth it. And I would not have to pay accommodation because I would stay with them, feeding, we can manage that. So it's definitely going to be cheaper. So of course, that same day, that same evening, I booked my Switzerland trip ticket, confirmed with them, and everything is planned for Switzerland as well. And then of course, there's been a city I've wanted to go to for the longest time, or a country actually, Liechtenstein. I've wanted to go to Liechtenstein for the longest time. And Liechtenstein is pretty close to where I'm going to in Switzerland. For those of you who don't know where Liechtenstein is, it's somewhere in between Switzerland, Austria, and Germany. I've been wanting to go there for the longest time. Since the day I went to Luxembourg and Monaco, I'm like, okay, I want to see more of these small countries in Europe. And Liechtenstein is really close to the city I'm going to in Switzerland. It's like a 3-hour drive. I was like, okay. I guess we're doing Liechtenstein now as well. That makes it 6 trips. And of course, I have to visit my sister, my nephew and niece in Ireland and in England as well. But those are like tickets which I always book the day before or the night before. But those have already been scheduled in my agenda, where I know I'm going to Ireland on this days and I'm going to London on this days. And of course, it's going to be like smaller trips in there to Germany, to Belgium and stuff like that. But these are like the main trips which I've planned this year, 6 of them. Really exciting. I'm already kind of struggling with the last half of the year because there's a lot of places I need to go to. Like I already mentioned, I need to go to India. All this is just God. Hopefully everything works well, God provides, and I can make all this work. But I have to go to India still at the end of the year, Jordan, and on the way back I have to stop and see a friend or a family member in Dubai and in Abu Dhabi, and then Norway with some friends, and then Iceland, and then a summer camping trip, which has already planned superficially, but we have to plan the logistics, and then always back and forth to Germany to see some cities, and then to England and Ireland. and a bunch of other trips. I'm thinking of going to Mexico because Mexico also has one of the world wonders. That might be like a stretch when I go to America for the second time this year. I might go to Mexico as well. But this has been basically how my brain worked to like plan the first half of the year in terms of trips. It's really exciting. I always get so pumped when I have goals for traveling, and the goals I actually like see them unfolding. Of course, hopefully I'm in good health. Hopefully everything works out. Hopefully I'm financially able to travel. Hopefully I can award myself the time to also like, take these trips and stuff. But it's very exciting. Let me tell you guys something. One thing's for sure, 2024 is exciting. Everything being equal, we pray for good health. We pray for just the ability to actually live these things out and enjoy them. But everything being equal, 2024 is going to be one heck of a year. I'm excited for it. I'm really pumped. I'm really looking forward to it. But yeah, guys, hope this helps you. Hope this gives you more insight into how I plan my trips, how I make things work. It's worth noting, I'm also a very spontaneous person to some degree. I still have a very strong accountability system now for my finances, so I cannot just be spontaneous without having thought about it. But for example, I don't book accommodation way ahead of time because there's most likely somebody in Rome I know. The cities I'm going to in America, I know people, so I'm not going to pay for accommodation in one of the states. In the other state, I know people, but sometimes I'm not sure if I want to stay with them. In Rome, I know people, but I'm not going to stay with them. In Switzerland, I know people, so I'm going to stay with them. So it's like a mixture of these things where I don't really worry about that when I book the trips because I always book them way ahead of time. Like I'm booking for May now 6 months ahead of time. So I don't worry about the accommodation because something will come up eventually at that time. That's what I believe. I just make sure I have the main part covered, which is the flight, and then the rest will figure themselves out. But that's how I think, and it works for me. So you have to see if that works for you as well. But hope you've been able to take away something from this video. Hope it gives you more insight into how you can travel more. But for sure, there's a beautiful world out there. There's a lot of stuff to see out there. There's amazing people to see out there. There's a lot of stuff you can learn from traveling which no textbook will teach you, and you watching videos like this one would not teach you either. You really have to just go out there, experience that stuff for yourself, and see how much you grow from it. Because talk from experience, you grow a lot from it just by seeing the world and seeing all these things. So hope this video helps you guys, and be sure to give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to the channel so you stay updated with the other Vlogmas videos coming up. But until next time, stay blessed and peace.